How's it going, guys? My name is Voss, and if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. It's been a solid 8 months since I've last made a video, I think. But anyway, today we are in a 2008 Atomic Orange Corvette Z06. With my friend Eric. He is the owner of this really nice vehicle. When did you get this?
I got this in June of this year, a couple months ago.
And he came from, so he was the one who had the Challenger GT, and then from there got the Challenger RT, and most recently has switched over to the Corvette.
Yeah, the Challenger RT was a lease, and I traded in a year early to buy this Corvette.
Nice. And why'd you get a Z06 over, why'd you get a C6, and why'd you get a Z06 specifically over maybe a Grand Sport or a base? Or
I think the C6 Z06 provides the most performance for its value. With the Z06, I mean, you get the LS7, the 7-liter V8 that revs to 7,000 RPMs, which is the main reason I got the Z06 over a base or Grand Sport.
Even with the current market pricing, the C6 Z06s I've seen in the low 40s, depending on the condition, all the way to like, we'll just say like high 40s, maybe in the 50s.
Yeah, low 40s you can get a pretty nice one. Like upper 40s would be like a perfect, like brand new Z06.
And that's a lot. I mean, even if it was a little cheaper, a couple years ago, year ago, I would say that's a lot of value. Given, like you said, 7-liter, pumping out about 505 horsepower.
Yes.
Torque numbers,
470 foot-pounds of torque.
Reps to 7,000 RPMs. Can still comfortably seat 2 people. Has a big boot. You can fit, I think, as GM would say, 2 sets of golf clubs.
Yeah.
Back there, which
I think they've done that since the beginning of the Corvette. 2 sets of golf clubs was the standard.
It's got creature comforts, heated seats, gas mileage. It's rated around like 18-24. But
yeah,
what
around town I get 16 to 18, and on the highway I can get 28 pretty easily.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. I didn't expect that when I bought the car.
And when you picked this up, were you specifically looking for Atomic Orange? Because there's a lot of nice colors.
No, this one was close to me, and I just looked at it, and I wasn't sure about the orange in the pictures, but in person, it looks amazing, and I fell in love with it, and it's more of a rare color. You don't see it very often.
So talking more on the engine, I've seen a lot. I've been on the forums live, read a lot about these Z06s. While they're like amazing performance for value, it sounds like there's still a lot of preventative maintenance, or almost maybe just maintenance, like scheduled maintenance, that you should do with these things. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So for the most part, it's a pretty solid engine. There's not very many issues with it. It just has one major flaw, which is the valve guides. It's a pretty common issue when you hit the 30,000 to 40,000 mile range that those valve guides, they wear out. The clearances get a little larger and your valve doesn't track up and down as smoothly, and it can get to the point where that valve can cock and the valve could break, or it might just knock the valve, like the keepers off, and the valve can drop down into the engine and ruin the whole engine. So it is very common for people to get the valve guides redone.
And I think a new engine was very expensive for this car.
Yeah, if you got an LS7, it'd probably be 15 grand. You can do other options through like Texas Speed, where they take a 5.3 block and board and stroke it to 427, but you're still probably looking at the same price for that.
Probably worthwhile to do the maintenance and stuff.
Yeah, so I am planning on getting the heads. I'm going to take them off, get them checked, and probably the valve guides replaced. And then while you're doing that, it's a good time to do a cam, port the heads if you choose to, and do some basic mods at the LS7.
Speaking of mods, yeah, I think these cars are pretty modification friendly.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of aftermarket community. What's like a typical, like, at least in addition to that, is that like part of your build? Is there anything else you would add to this vehicle
besides the engine work? One thing I've already done is the clutch. The clutch is super light in the Corvette. I wasn't a fan of it, and there is some issues with the slave cylinder. It's in the bell housing and get pretty hot, where your clutch pedal will actually get stuck down in it for like a quarter second. So if you're like quick shifting or dumping the clutch, that the clutch pedal won't travel with your foot completely. You get a bit of a delay. So I put a kit on from Lingenfelter. It's just a spring, hooks up to the pedal, makes it a lot more stiff, and the pedal return a lot faster, which I think is a lot better for feel for driving. And the only other things I'd probably change is the steering wheel and the seats.
What about the steering wheel?
The steering wheel is, I don't know, just it feels cheap for what it is. It seems like a steering wheel that GM put in all their cars, like straight out of the Cobalt or something. It could be a little thicker. And these plastic pieces here feel really cheap.
Yeah, I don't feel as many rigid. I would say, I mean, performance aside, the interior of this car is pretty basic, whether that's a negative thing or not.
Seats need a lot more bolstering. Like, for as much this car can handle very well, and it does not hold you in your seat. I find myself, I brace my left leg against the door over there, and like you're really holding yourself there with the wheel. It needs some shoulder bolstering and even some more on the sides and for your legs.
Something else I'm noticing is, like, just on the Z06 topic, there aren't a lot of Z06 badges inside of here to let you know you're in one. There's one behind us.
The headrest.
There's one in the dash. And I don't think there's any more. Like, compared to the ZR1, there's one there, there's one back there. I think, I don't know, they seem to keep it really subtle within the trims. It's a nice touch. I think, like, I don't think anyone buying this car cares about what the inside looks like. I think they're more going for the performance, and that's where this car really shines.
Yeah, the interior is by far good enough for me. It has everything you need. It's an 08, so it's a little outdated. It has a touchscreen. It's not the best. It has satellite radio, heated seats.
Cup holders. Yeah. You got a middle compartment.
It has a heads-up display too, and memory seats. So it has a lot of options, but it's just outdated technology now at this point.
I see that. Does that is any of the stuff that it does, like, how in the newer ones you can record the information? Does it have anything like that?
No, it doesn't. Okay. I think on the C7 they started that as an option, like a track recorder. But
I really like how the shifter feels. It's really smooth.
Yeah. It does have the 1-to-4 skip shift, which this is actually the same transmission that my Challenger had, and for some reason the skip shift in this one comes in a lot more than on the Challenger. Like, I rarely had it on the Challenger, but driving this, it pretty much happens every drive.
So in this car, we are fitted with a TR6060, correct?
Yes.
And they started doing that in 08?
Yeah, 2008 was the first year. Before that, they were using the T56.
So normally, fill me in on how they set up, like, so the C6 came out in 2005, and then the Z06 is that comes after the year after? Is that how that works?
Yeah, and 06 was the first year of the Z06.
Gotcha. And even in those, you were saying they're using the T56? Or
yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I kind of forget about 05 because they didn't have the Z06, so.
You can get this in the 6-speed manual or the automatic. I would say the Z06, however, only comes in a manual, and probably the best way to enjoy this car. see what you're saying with the heads-up display. It'd be nice if it was like
A little higher.
a hinge higher.
Yeah.
Honestly, this thing gets up. I don't like pushing other people's cars, but this gets up to the speed limit very quickly.
Yeah.
I think the rated 0 to 60 in this vehicle was mid threes, like about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think so.
Per perspective, a cheetah can get to 60 miles an hour in about 3 seconds.
Like the animal?
Like the animal.
Okay.
So it's very comparable. I think one of the big like takeaways with this vehicle is it was kind of like track focused. You know, I think you would think of like American muscle cars. You don't expect them to do the handling, the cornering. You usually think about straight line speeds. While this is a very fast car in the straight line, it seems like it almost is better around corners and stuff.
Yeah, I think this car really lives in the corner. They did, even with the base, they did what they could to get a good weight distribution. Like the Corvettes, they've been using torque tubes so they can put the transmission in the rear, even the weight out. And as a passenger, you're sitting pretty close to the rear wheels. Like most of the cars in front of you, as you can tell, it feels like a really long car.
It is.
But there's not a lot behind you, so. Yeah, with all the torque, like, that's pretty low in the RPM range, and will still pull pretty hard.
Yeah, and it sounds really good for some. Stock exhaust. You said you had the butterfly valves opened up.
Yeah, so if you just pull the fuse for the butterfly valves, they stay open.
Normally, with that, it being valve controlled, is that something where if you didn't do that, would it automatically open at a certain speed?
Yeah, there's a certain RPM. I didn't realize when I bought the car, I found a fuse in the glove box, and I figured that's what it was for, and I checked, and yeah, the valves were definitely staying open.
Definitely sounds really good. So probably for the better.
Yeah, drones a little on the highway, but nothing unbearable. Yeah, but going back to the Z06 being more performance focused, they did a lot with the C6. Like the base model has a steel frame, the Z06 is an aluminum frame, so it's actually about 300 pounds lighter than the base.
Curb weight around 3,100.
3,100 for the Z06, and it's wider. Like the body itself, they have like fender flares on it, so it has a lot wider of a stance as well.
It honestly, it feels more driver focused and more nimble. I've been in the C7, not the Z06. This just I'm getting a very like connected feeling to the road, and I feel like a lot of new sports cars you kind of lose that, and it feels really good in here, and it's honestly really easy to drive. After being in here for a couple miles, I do see what you're saying about the bolstering, and I do find myself bracing like both sides of this just to like not turn myself around. But no, it feels good. I also see what you mean by the steering wheel. For a car of this nature, I would have liked I think a little thicker.
Expect something that feels a little nicer.
What made you want to, the Challenger, it's a pretty different vehicle in comparison. What made you want to make the jump to like something like this more? Are you interested in tracking the vehicle more? Is that your goal with it? Or
yeah, I'll probably track it eventually, but I was really just looking for an upgrade from the Challenger. Like the RT with the 5.7, it was good, it was fast, but I was used to it. It didn't really give me that feeling of like excitement anymore from hammering it, so I was debating on maybe Scat Pack or a used Hellcat. But this, I mean, the LS7, I've always been a fan of the engine, and it sounds really good when you open up the exhaust, and I just thought for the value, I mean, this is cheaper than a even 15 or 16 Hellcat right now, so.
Yeah. And I mean, with the way prices are going right now, this seems like the sweet spot for performance, like you were saying, because I mean, even if you're trying to look at a C7 Z06, it's pushing $80,000 to $90,000 in some cases, and that's a lot. That's more than the new C8. And I think we were talking a little off camera, but the C7 Z06 is supercharged.
Yeah.
And I think you were just saying it kind of loses its charm.
Yeah, they have heat soak issues, so where if you run them a few times on the track, after a couple laps, they start to lose power just from the supercharger.
Versus an NA car like this.
With this being NA, you could run this lap after lap and not really have any issues.
Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this review. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to get back to a hopefully somewhat regular scheduling of content. again, I'm starting to get back into the groove of things, and really nice of Eric to let me review his C6 Z06. Comment below what else you'd like to see. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, share this video. It would really help me out a ton. Follow Eric on his social medias. I'll put those somewhere here. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.